knowledge in classical music is extensive, and you can hear it in English and in Spanish each time on Concierto.
Every Wednesday night at 8 on KSJE, Farmington. This program is supported by San Juan Health Partners Urology, providing a wide range of personalized services for the whole family, including children. Our caring professionals are dedicated to helping meet your urology health needs with skill, experience, and service you need. For a complete listing of our services and to learn more, visit sanjuanhealthpartners.com or call 505-609-6300. San Juan Health Partners Urology, a division of San Juan Regional Medical Center. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, the information and cultural beacon of the Four Corners, broadcasting from San Juan College. Special good morning to our viewers who are watching us today on the KSJE Facebook page and YouTube channel. Welcome aboard, everybody. We're glad you're with us. And coming up on the program, we have a number of things we want to pass along to you about the program today, beginning with my guest in the next few minutes here. We'll be talking about Memory Gardens. That is the Farmington Cemetery that a lot of folks are concerned about, the conditions at the cemetery, and we'll be talking to Ernest Martinez, who is the regional manager for Memory Gardens and Serenity and Company, to talk with him about some of the company's plans for the cemetery this season, some of the issues the cemetery has been dealing with in past seasons, and I'll be asking him some of the concerns that folks have about the condition of the cemetery. I've asked for some of your comments, and we'll be passing those along to him in just a few moments. So we hope you will stay tuned for that conversation starting up in just a second here on KSJE. Later on this hour, as we do every Wednesday, we'll check in with Dr. Mike Hadabaugh in the Encouragement Lab. He'll be joining us, and his topic this week is the problem with desire. Dr. Hadabaugh will be talking more about that today at 8:55 here on KSJE. At 9 a.m., it is Roving with the Arts with Mick Hess after the news, of course, and this morning Mick is playing some of the classical greats. That is music from Bach and also Beethoven on the radio today at 9:06 on KSJE. And don't forget about our local and regional author program today at 10:30. It is Right on Four Corners with host Tracy Hales-Vass. And today Tracy is talking to this author, Sabra Steinseck, and she is talking about her books. She has a series of books on the Taylor Girls, and we'll be talking about that today at 10:30 here on KSJE. So we hope you'll check that out as well. Stay tuned all morning long right here at 90.9 FM or stream us at KSJE.com, or of course if you're watching us on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. But now let me get to my guest who is here with me this morning. The general manager of Memory Gardens and Serenity and Company, Ernest Martinez, is here. And Mr. Martinez, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And as we've been talking before we came on the air this morning, it has been a little challenging, I would say, to run a cemetery in a desert climate during a couple of years of drought, and that's kind of where we find ourselves this spring with Memory Gardens.
Yes, sir.
And so what's been the biggest, challenge for you? As I've mentioned, and I think I want to say too off the top of the show here, I understand that this is a very emotional issue for a lot of folks who have family members buried at Memory Gardens, and so when they see the condition of the cemetery, they get very angry, very upset about the condition where their loved ones are, and I'm sure you can understand that as well.
Certainly.
And so with that being said, what steps are you taking to improve the condition of the cemetery this year?
Well, we are very hopeful that everything kind of comes together. We have spent the last 5 seasons working on the cemetery. It really kind of stumbled about 5 seasons ago. We let the primary groundskeeper, I let him go. There was some theft that we had to contend with, and we really stumbled when we lost his expertise. That initial year we did not blow out the lines correctly, and so the start of the season we had a lot of busted pipe and a lot of things that really probably could have been prevented had we not lost that expertise. But essentially we stumbled a great deal. And as we tried to rectify the situation, we really found out that we had a declining cemetery.
And declining by what do you mean? Declining
just in its care, in its infrastructure, in its equipment, in its entirety. Truly, we didn't realize the depth of the decline. It didn't fall apart overnight, and so we did have to. We have a lot of infrastructure that we had to essentially rebuild, a lot of pipes, a lot of roadways, a lot of the bypass valves and blow-off valves and pumps and things that that we had to essentially rebuild. And of course, the drought, as you mentioned, didn't help, but certainly wasn't the primary reason for the grass being dead.
Right.
We did some soil sampling throughout the cemetery. There was essentially no nutrients. The person that tested the soil said, "We don't know how the weeds are growing. There's nothing in the soil. There's no nutrients at all in the soil." So we did have to start at truly step one.
And this, you talk about 5 seasons ago. It's about 5. You talk about seasons as opposed to years.
That's correct.
But this is when your company purchased the cemetery, is that correct?
We purchased the cemetery in November of 2011. So our first season was the spring of 2012.
Okay.
So it's been roughly 6 years. And again, we lost the expertise, but we really just had that declining cemetery that was really on the decline. So we really had to kind of regroup and start from scratch, and I mean that in every sense of the word. The soil was gone. There was no nutrients. Some of the basic equipment that we thought we should have was missing. We had to purchase brand new equipment. We purchased a brand new backhoe that was not in the plans, but essentially we were spending more money on the daily or the monthly repairs on that backhoe than what we were actually. We could have bought a brand new unit and paid a payment. We didn't have thatchers, we didn't have aerators, our lawnmower was pretty shot. So some of that basic equipment that we would expect to have to operate a cemetery really was on the decline. So we have spent the past 5 seasons improving our infrastructure. We have replaced, I can't tell you how many feet of pipe and bypass valves and blow-off valves and water pumps, and we spent $35,000 on paving the front loop of the cemetery, and again in an effort to make things better. All the equipment we've had to purchase, we've added staff to the staff to help keep up with maintenance and taking care of services. Families, I've said since day one that it will never be a golf course. It's a functioning, operating cemetery. So we may have a section that may be pristine today, but we have an interment tomorrow with the water, and we're going to tear up turf. We're going to upset headstones and things. So it is an operating cemetery, and we do our best to keep things nice and maintain, but we do have daily operation.
I can hear a lot. I think I hear a lot of folks maybe who are watching us this morning saying, "But it's been 5 years, 5 seasons, 6 years almost. Why is it still looking the way it looks during the summer?" And I would imagine the climate, the drought, plays a big role in that. I think grass is the big gripe that everybody seems to have about the condition of the cemetery.
Yes, sir, and we understand that. April of last year, I was really excited. We saw a lot of improvement. We had a lot of seedlings coming up in our bare areas, and so I really was excited on our progress. And then we hit the drought where we were limited ditch water. We water off of the ditch, so it's not city water. We can't just pay by the gallon that the city that most folks think that we can do.
Right. You're limited by what you can take out of that ditch.
That's correct.
That runs right by.
That's correct. And as folks know, the ditch was on rotation, so we would have days that we didn't have water. Anyway, the progress that we had in April really was negated by the fact that we had 2 of the hottest seasons, hottest days of the season, with no water, and because we had fertilized and done things to improve the soil conditions, with no water, it burnt what we had grown. And so it really kind of took us a step back rather than the step forward we were hoping for. And so when the grass essentially got burnt, it did look bad, and we were aware of that. We're hopeful now with the water that has come in that we're not going to have that same problem this year.
Right, and I think for a lot of folks, it's going to be hard to understand what some of the concerns are with the use of water. I think they see the ditch right there, and it's got water in it. So why don't you just pump out whatever you need and do the job to get the cemetery looking better? But then that leaves the folks at the other end of the ditch with no water.
That's correct, and we do have to share, and we are in line with 280 some odd folks that are on that ditch.
Got it. And so this year, though, you are hopeful.
Yes.
That water will be available, and you've got your staff, the right people in the right positions, I guess, to hopefully make a big difference in the cemetery this year. I mean, I'm asking you to go out on a limb here to project maybe next year, if we talk at this time, what we'll be talking about. Will we be talking about hopefully a green cemetery that's had a great season and folks have enjoyed it all summer and ready for another one in 2020?
Yes, sir, and that's our goal, is to make it better. Over the past 5 seasons, the cemetery crew, office staff, and the grounds crew have taken a beating. They really have seen the ugly side of emotion, and I applaud them because they have worked through it. They have managed to keep their head up high and keep doing what we do. We have seen a lot of progress, so I know that it may not be enough for folks, but we have seen a great deal of progress. I'm hopeful this year that those dead zones and the areas of the cemetery that just haven't caught up to the rest will get there.
Is there any area of Memory Gardens that you're pleased with the condition today?
Well, there are sections, yes, that have come back very, very strong. As a whole, the cemetery is green. We do have some patches, some areas that need some attention. We are expanding some of the sprinkler zones, and some of the ones that are closer to the road need some attention, need some fine-tuning, and that's what we're focusing on now this season, is to make sure those areas get zoned in. Something that folks probably don't understand is that the way that the irrigation system was laid out is that it is an all-or-nothing system. So if we lose a section of pipe, the entire system is down while we fix that. It's not a zone-by-zone
right. Like someone would have maybe at their house.
That's correct.
Where they can shut off the side yard and just work on the front yard, or
That's
water
correct.
the front yard and worry about the side yard later, or the backyard is in a different zone. Yours is all or nothing.
All or nothing, yes, sir.
Interesting. And so with that being said, Mr. Martinez, you can understand folks being upset.
Certainly.
About the condition of their loved ones' graves when they go and visit, and it's just heartbreaking for them to see it in that condition. And so I hear what you're saying, that sometimes your staff has been the brunt of some of that raw emotion, which is unfortunate. I think we all can agree. And so you're hopeful that with some of the improvements that things will get better. I know you have faced the crowd at the cemetery on at least one occasion to try to give your point of view, and that went okay? How do you feel it went?
It went well. Right. I made a commitment to the community that we were going to fix it. I know it's been slow going. We recognize that it's been slow going, but we still have that commitment. We still have that commitment to our community and to the families that we serve, the families that have entrusted their loved ones to us. So we really are expecting this season to be to prove the fact that we were committed.
Okay. This is the show me season, maybe, is what you're saying. And
yes.
Hopefully people will see the difference.
Yes, sir.
With your efforts that's been building now for the last 5 seasons.
That's correct.
Of getting the equipment repaired and the right people in the right positions, maybe, and the necessary equipment that you would need. Now, I'd like you to spend a few minutes explaining to me the business of a perpetual care cemetery, because that's what Memory Gardens is, and that's how it's set up. And so if someone goes and wants to get a plot at Memory Gardens, they're paying a certain amount of money, and some of that money then is kind of goes into a different separate fund for the future care of the grounds.
That is correct. Perpetual care cemetery, by definition, is money that's set aside. In our case, we take 100% of your money. 40% of that is put into a trust. The trust is overseen by the New Mexico Department of Banking and Finance. They oversee that perpetual care money. It's designed that once the last interment occurs at the cemetery, that fund is available to maintain the cemetery 100 years past its last interment. So it is designed to be cared for even after the cemetery stops making money.
I see. But that money is something that you can't just go into and say, oh, I need to put in a new sprinkler system. Can I get a little withdrawal from that fund?
That's correct.
You can't touch it.
There can be drafts off of it, but it's not even enough to help with salaries. I mean, it really is pretty limited on what we can use that withdrawals for. You're
limited. Not that
Yes.
there's not a lot of money in there, but you're limited as to what you can use it for.
That's correct.
And that's what we're talking about. Understood. And so really your budget comes from the fees, the payments that people are making to put their loved ones in there. That's really where your operation money comes from.
Absolutely. And the owners of Serenity have done a great job at giving me the authority to do what we have to do to make the cemetery better. We really have not looked at a budget per se. We do what we can to make things move forward.
They haven't given you a blank check, though.
Essentially, they have, because I have been able to purchase new equipment and new infrastructure and pave the roads and hire the staff that we need. And yes, sir, they essentially have.
Interesting. Okay. And so what's your message to people who are watching and listening to us this morning who have been so upset about the condition of the cemetery over the last few years that just get so emotional and get very upset, visibly upset when they go to visit their loved one?
Well, I guess I will first want to apologize that it fell into the repair that it did, because it really was never our intention to let the cemetery decline the way that it did. It was a declining cemetery. There was issues when we bought the property, but it really did kind of backslide, and we never intended for it to fall apart the way that it truly fell apart. I ask for maybe not patience, but just understanding that we are working on it diligently. I get it that it's not fast enough for some folks. I know that no matter what we do, there may always be brown areas of the cemetery. We live in a desert, so I think things like that, just understanding that, we want it to be nice. We want it to be comforting when folks go to visit, and we're doing everything we can to work on that and make it happen.
All right. You do admit that it's not in the condition that you'd like to see it in.
Of course. We would love to have it absolutely pristine and green, and we could be proud of it for our community.
Ernest Martinez is my guest this morning. He's the regional manager for the New Mexico part of Serenity and Company. We are talking about Memory Gardens, the cemetery on East Main Street in Farmington that has been under so much scrutiny for the past few years. There's a lot of folks who are very vocal in some of their disappointments in the condition of the cemetery, and so hopefully with your appearance this morning, you're kind of setting the stage to say, give us this season. We feel we have the staff in place, the equipment in place, the water that we need to make a big difference in the condition of the cemetery summer 2019.
That's correct.
All right. Let's take a short break.
Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, we will take a short break. Back with my guest and more in just a moment right here on KSJE. This program on KSJE is supported by Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation, providing a competent, innovative, and caring team of professionals to serve wealth management, trust administration, employee benefit plans, retirement planning, and estate settlement needs. Find out more about Citizens Trust and Investment Corporation at 505-599-0181.
Amazon's information about what we are buying is turning into a really good ad business. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace Tech, demystifying the digital economy. I'm Molly Wood.